We went to see the fairy pools on the Isle of Skye. They are a phenomenon that has only been called the fairy pools since the early 1900s. In fact, they are only very loosely associated with fairies because the colour of the water is a striking blue. It is about a 45-minute walk through beautiful countryside to get there. But it is worth it. These beautiful pools with crystal clear water dot the terrain with these waterfalls. At a distance, the waterfalls don't look very tall, but when you get up close, you can see that they are substantial. Scottish fairies aren't Hollywood-style fairies. They're not what you've come to think of as traditional fairies. In Scotland, stories passed down through generations describe fairies as little red people. Sometimes they are life-sized and not so tiny at all. In Skye, female fairies wore shaggy green clothing and had wrinkled caps, but the men dressed in any colour they liked, but they would always wear blue bonnets. These fairies didn't fly around like Tinkerbell either. Apparently they galloped recklessly on horses at full speed into dangerous places, and they sat facing towards the horse's tail. Some traditional Scottish stories seem to use the fear of fairies to help guide the appropriate behaviour or safe behaviour when walking in the bush. For example, running streams could be crossed by fairies but not by evil spirits or ghosts. Thus, the elders suggested that you stay on this side of the river with the fairies because evil may await on the opposite side. Scottish fairies are closely linked to the natural world. Even their red skin is said to come from a dye made from red lichen. Fairies seem to be sensitive to certain plants. St. John's wort is very common in this Glen Brittle area in the summer, and people picked it to prevent fever, but also to keep the fairies from taking people away in their sleep. Bog myrtle was also said to keep away mischievous fairies and the midgies. The Scottish name for St. John's wort is Columba's little armpit package. This refers to the plant's use in traditional medicine. It was tied under the left armpit close to the lymphatic system. Legend says Saint Columba first used it to restore the courage to a herd boy who had been unnerved by wolves. But remember, if you do use St. John's wort, it has a powerful effect. In fact, many young people today use it to help them overcome the Tuesday blues after taking eckies at a rave party. St. John's wort does grow wild in this area. It is the natural source of this herb and is traditionally used to help depression or the blues. The natural blue colour of this water is astounding. Some say the blue colour is simply because it reflects the beautiful blue Scottish sky on a clear hot day, which is the kind of day that we found ourselves walking down there on. However, there is a beautiful tale about the fairies, the little blue men, and that they bathe in this water and actually live in a subterranean realm, and that the colour of this water comes from their skin, leaching the colour into the water. And when you look at these archways that have been carved into these beautiful rocks, not only can you visualize that underneath there is a subterranean city with little people dwelling in it, but as you look deep into these waters and at the stones, you will begin to see faces in the rocks and the stones, and you'll start to see that this water is alive and staring back at you. Our journey through the UK was very much about sacred waters, so it's not surprising that our experience with sacred waters began in the north and with these beautiful fairy pools. And though the area looks absolutely pristine now, it used to be full of small crofts. Crofts are a small farm. In fact, sheep still dot the landside as you walk along the path. So farming still continues in this area. The fairies have often been associated with helping the farmer. One local tale speaks of a local farmer on the Isle of Skye who was so stressed that he said that if the fairies cared about him, they would grant him a wish and they would reap his corn. So the fairies came, and in 2 nights they completely reaped all of the corn from his field. And because they had been so successful, they asked him for a boon. They asked him for more work because they had been accused of being lazy by other farmers. So 75 of them turned up for their next assignment. But the cunning farmer knew what they were up to, because fairies always like to trick the farmers. So he gave them a job, a suggestion for new work. He said that they should empty the sea and let him know when that job was done. And to this day, that job keeps them busy, as the springs, such as the fairy pools, are constantly filling the ocean back up again as fast as they can empty it. So come and visit the fairy pools today, but treat the land with respect. Bring a present for the fairies, whether it's a silver coin or some sacred water from another place, or maybe a rock that means something to you, and leave it as an offering to them. And they also love honey. And when you come, make sure you wear a sprig of St. John's wort in your lapel so that the fairies don't carry you away in your sleep. Make sure that you don't walk on any fairy mounds, because the fairies will come to you at night. And make sure that you do rejoice and you have fun and a sense of wonder in this beautiful environment that is like no other on the planet